Hi, I'm Jordan Tab, and in this video I will demo my FSE chat room application. Before I start, I want to go over the requirements, which were to allow a user to register with a new username and password, to log in with their username and password, to see all previous messages, to post a new message, and to log out gracefully. And to demo my application, it is already running. On the left, I have a normal window, and on the right, I have a private window. On the left, I'm going to log into my existing account, and on the right, I am going to register under my mom's name, Leah. As you can see, we're both logged in. Now, when I post a message as Jordan, it will be displayed on both screens in real time. The same goes for when she posts a message. Since it overflowed, I have to scroll down, but we can both see them. And then I'm going to log out by clicking log out button. And that is the whole application. Now moving on to the code structure, the high level design, and the tech stack. I used Express for the server side, MongoDB as my database, EJS as my client side, and for the middleware I used Passport.js for authentication, Express Session for session management, and Socket.io for real-time communication and dynamic updates of the screen. So for the architecture and the high-level design, I pretty much used the model view controller architecture. What this means is that the model manages data and the database operations. The view displays this data to the user, and the controller handles everything in between. So it handles the user input, interacts with the model, and turns the output to the back to display in the view. And for the code structure, essentially what happens in my application is when the user submits a request, so when they try to log in, register, log out, post a new message, they send an HTTP request, and that gets hit by a route. So when that route gets hit, the controller is called to facilitate the actions that are necessary. So let's say when the user is registering, the controller.register gets called, function gets called, and when we go there, the controller dissects the request into usable parts. In this case, username and password, and then it calls the model to interact with the database. So in registration case, you want to check if that username already exists. So we call the model, which interacts with the username with the database to check if the user exists. If it doesn't, it returns data either way, either an error or the user doesn't exist. And based on the response, we either take further action or return back to the view and display the result. If the user doesn't exist, we use Passport.js to we first create the user, and then we log the user in using Passport.js. To briefly go over the technologies I used again, so for Passport.js, essentially how it works is we authenticate the user first once the user tries to log in. And if the authentication is successful, we create a session using Express Session and keep track of the user that is logged in. This is useful for when they post a message, so we can associate the messages with that user, display their username, so on and so forth. And when they post a new message, we use Socket.io to create a connection between the client and the server that displays the new message in dynamic in real time. So when they post a new message in the front end, instead of an HTTP request, they emit a message using WebSockets, and the client side is listen to that message. They store the new message, emit a message back, and this message gets displayed on the client. And all logged in users can see them without updating their page. And that is essentially my application. Thank you for listening.